So this is the freeze dryer that we bought, and so I'm not gonna video the whole process, but it requires its own separate 20 amp circuit. So what I've done, and I'll show you bit by bit. So I've got my 20 amp, or I've got my 110 outlet, and these outlets are fantastic because you just run your wire right into the back of them. So if you've never done this, if you have done this, you know, I'm just repeating something, but if you've never done this, it's pretty cool. And I'll show you each step. Unfortunately, I can't video each step because I can't hold the camera and video. So I've got my 1/2 inch drywall plate, and it goes on to this metal box. Now, because we're doing Romex, which is the shielded wire, we're going to use a clamp. This clamp goes in the hole here, and I can see now that I've made a mistake and put the hole on the wrong side of the box, but I may use that anyway and run the wire down around the bottom of the box and then in. That will make it easier for me to get the outlet into the box and not fight that wire as I put it together. So it's a mistake that might not be, it's not a big deal, and it might not affect me. Now, when I did this cabin, I did not drywall in the sheet of drywall below the electrical box. I did it for this specific reason. Had I drywalled in this here, you can see I've got this open. If I had put the drywall in here, I would not have been able to add electric to the box. Now, this cabin came with this electrical box. Now, this is my new breaker. So it's just a regular 20 amp Eaton breaker. It clips in right there. And all I'm going to do, I'm going to strip out this wire. The white wire goes to that neutral block up there. The unshielded wire, which is the ground, goes to that ground strap. And then the hot wire goes to this right here on the bottom. It's pretty straightforward. There's nothing complicated about electrical. And like, I'm doing the electric while the electric's live in here. The big thing is you have to know what to touch and what not to touch. And what you don't touch is any wire while you're doing this. And you hook them up one at a time. So what I'll do is I'll put in the ground into the ground strap. I'll put the white into the neutral strap. And then I'll hook the black into the breaker while the breaker's on the outside of the box. And then when everything is hooked up, the outlet's hooked up, everything's installed, I'll snap the breaker into place, put the cover on, and then I will turn the breaker on after the cover's on. Then there is no chance of me accidentally frying myself, which probably would ruin my morning. So we don't want our morning ruined. All right, so I'll be back in a few minutes after I get wire stripped back. I got to fasten the box to the stud. I'll show you what I do with that on the next little segment. Here, we're going to try it this way. See if I can get kind of a little bit of a little tutorial going on what I'm doing here. So I have my wires pulled through, and there's a clamp right here. This clamp is tightened up. So basically this blocks the hole, but it doesn't just block the hole in the box. It keeps this wire from sliding up and down. So I'm going to take my handy dandy strippers. I'm going to strip back about 1/2 inch on the white. Now you notice I'm only stripping back the white. Okay? Do it one at a time. Then there's no chance that if you hit the hot wire in here and it touches something, that this down here is hot, where I haven't done anything with the wire down there yet. So, in this simple, a lot of times if you have an electrical box that's kind of full, it's difficult to find a spot to hook a wire up. This one doesn't have a lot of power in here. this Shabin, as the girls call it, only has a couple of circuits. Okay. All right. And of course, now I have a gnat flying around my hat, driving me crazy. And you say, oh my gosh, you're reaching into this box. Yes, I am. But your hot lines are down here. Aha, look at that. Your hot lines are down here. Your neutrals are here. Your grounds are over here. The circuits are split. So you have this 110 leg coming in on this side, and it lights up the top of this one. And then you have this 110 leg coming in, and it lights up the bottom. If I was putting a 240 amp circuit in, it would be a double pole. There would be two of these hot leads, and it would light up both sides. So you run in, this is a 100 amp box, so you run in with your power split, so you can get 110 or 115. That always confuses me. Or you can get 240 if you need to run like an oven or something like that. With this, we're only running the 110 circuit. So I'm only going to hook up just that neutral and this ground right now. And then I'm going to go down and work on where I'm putting the box. So I need a ground over here. And we've got one right here. Now, this line here is hot. This is the main power. I don't have anything shut off. So I don't want to just go up grabbing things, touching things, and lighting myself up. So I want to be careful as I slide this in here. Of course, as I fry things. As I touch stuff that's hot. I don't know if you just heard that on camera. I don't know why that's... All right. So that's a ground light. That is... Why is that hot? Okay. All right. So we don't want to do that again. So let's get it up here like this. Run it in back behind. Tighten it up and make sure that we're actually in the ground strap. That's kind of funny. We'll see if Sarah leaves that in the video. Me trying to electrocute myself doing hot power. And then we'll take this up here like this. Bend it up away from that hot leg and away. And that was a little strange because you would think I just lit that up. It might have just been a little, it's very possible it was just static electricity built up that I just touched the box on the back and that's what I got because I didn't get shocked. So, all right. So now we've got to install this box and that's pretty straightforward. I'm just going to screw it to the 2x4 on the bottom down here. So that's my hot wire. We'll just pick a spot. Use my handy dandy hammer pliers. Run a drywall screw in on the top. run the drywall screw in on the bottom. And then let's see if I can get you guys an angle that you can see down here, so you can actually see what I'm doing. And I'm sure it'll get edited down for time. All right. So we got our clamp in. Tighten the bottom up. Just give it a little love tap. Just give it a little love tap. Just give it a little. Apparently it doesn't want a love tap. A little love tap. And then this wire, pull up. And then clamp it tight. Now, if you're in a state where you're required to have a licensed electrician, of course, this won't apply to you. We don't live in one of those states. We have all of the freedom that we can handle here. Okay, and I'm just going to cut this back a little bit. And coil it up inside the box. Now, as you can see, I have not attached anything power, so you don't have to worry about shorting this out on this metal box in here while we're doing the next step. Because what I need to do is I need to get the drywall back on here. My access panel. So we want the cover on. And we want the cover tight. So, there we go. And then we'll do the next step, which is putting the drywall back on and cutting the hole out for the outlet with the RotoZip. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I got delayed just a little bit. As you can see, this is where the box is going to go. I got delayed by that. That is a mouse nest. Now, of course, the mouse nest is there because, as you can see daylight through there, somebody, which would be me, left a hole in the plate when I drilled for the power. So that's pretty much saying, hey, look at your door. Come on in. So I'm going to clean the mouse nest up quick. I'm going to vacuum it. I'm going to spray it with, I saw ants down there, so we're going to spray it with an ant spray. And then I'm going to seal up that hole with my handy dandy, great stuff, Pro Series gun. Everybody should have a gun. So I got a gun. So we're going to fill that hole and make sure that we don't have this problem again. So again, I'll be back in a bit. Okay, so we got the old trusty dusty shop vac out. We shop vac that. I don't know how clear you can see that down there, but those two holes that were open are now no longer open. So that should keep the critters, well, let me rephrase that. That should slow the critters down. So now I can get this wall put back together, and we can move on to attaching our outlet to our power. And the other thing, let me mention real quick, I showed you the gun that I was using, the Pro Series gun. The biggest mistake people make with those guns is they take the can off of it when they're done. Even if that can is empty. Okay, so there's still something down there. Even if that can is empty, we have to make sure that it stays on the gun, or the gun will dry out, and that will be the end of that gun. And I know that for a fact. Oh yeah, there's some stuff down in here still. I know that for a fact because that's the second gun I bought. Unfortunately, the first gun, I took the can off of it. I used the gun cleaner. I cleaned it all out. I made sure it was all good. And when I went to use it the next time with a new can, it didn't work. Because no matter how hard you try to clean those guns out, if there is anything in there, that's the end of it. Okay, let's try this again. I don't know what I'm catching on. So now what I'm going to do I'll show you a handy dandy little tool I have, and hopefully I won't butcher this live on camera. So you just put the screw in there so it holds your sheet. This is called a rotozip. For those of you wondering, how do the pros get those neat little holes? That's how they do it. access panel back in. I have access to my wiring. And because I tucked it way back up in there, I didn't hit it with that Roto-Zip and really screw things up. So what we're going to do now, I don't need it that long. So we're going to get our outlet. Our box cutter. Cut the insulation back. Cut this excess with an E. Take stripper. Now this one, you want to make sure you strip it back far enough, but not too far. And you say, oh, well, what's far enough but not too far? I think about a ½ inch. Because what you're going to do is then you're going to look at the back of your outlet, and it'll say on the outlet, hot wire, white wire. You say, how do you know which one's the hot wire? So, you're going to run your hot wire in, and that's it. It's attached. Run your white wire in right across from it. Now, if I was going to run in series, and what I mean is I have an outlet here, an outlet here, an outlet here, I would come off the bottom of this, and I would go to the next outlet with my hot and my white. Now, the ground, which you always want to make sure is hooked up, goes on this green down here. Just like that. Take a screwdriver. And the nice thing about doing it this way is I know there's no power to this. There's no danger of me getting shocked by grabbing this outlet like this on these what would be live screws, because this wire up here is not attached. So this step that I'm doing right here isn't essential, but it's essential. And what I mean by that is if you leave these screws out, it could get really dangerous because those screws could touch this metal box and could liven up or short out and cause a fire. Now that I have my outlet installed, I'll loosen up my clamp and push some of this excess down because that's not necessary. Now, we want to make sure that the vinyl covering, the insulation, is still on there. And you say, well, you're not putting electrical tape on there. No, I'm not. Completely unnecessary. There's nothing open here. There's no breaks in my insulation. The only wires that are open are the ones that are tucked into the back of this outlet. So now, get this screw started here. And then we'll come down here, get this screw started. And I can take my handy dandy Master Force impact and just run them in real slow. until they're where you want them on the outlet. Now, what I'm going to do, I have to go dig through all of my extra electrical stuff, and what I have to do is find the cover to go over this, and I will be putting a cover over that. I feel that, especially if you have children, that is something you always want to do. You never want to leave an outlet uncovered. Okay. So, now, the last step. That last step is installing this breaker. So, take a screwdriver. Make sure you're loose back here. Take your strippers. Actually, I'm going to take my side cutters first. Cut this back a little bit. Then take my strippers. Then you run your wire up into here. You make sure that that is tight. Now, we're doing this with the electric on. This here is the most dangerous part. When you tuck this in, so we're tucking that wire down, the bottom of your breaker goes down. There's a little tab in there. You keep your fingers out of this electrical box. That's it. It's installed. It's not on. So this outlet is not live yet. Before I make it live, I'm going to take my cover, and this is the spot where that breaker is. So we'll take my side cutters, and we'll snap this out. Take your box cover, fit it in place. And put your screws in. If for whatever reason you go to put this box cover back on and it doesn't go back on, you don't force it. You figure out what is obstructing it. Because if you put this box cover back on and you have a wire pinched in between the cover and the box and it wears, again, you could cause a fire. So, we tighten this up. Now, you're watching this for the first time. I'm going to flip this breaker on, and if I've done something wrong, we'll know it. It's on. So, to test it, I have my handy dandy RotoZip here. Plug the RotoZip in. And that's it. The girls now have a dedicated 20 amp circuit for the freeze dryer. So we don't have to worry that any electric on any of our freezers, which we have 3 deep freezes in here and 2 refrigerators. We have a cheese cave and we have a milk fridge. So we do not want to have that unit blow power to one of these freezers, or the cheese cave for that matter. So now, as you can see, instead of 3 breakers, we now have 4. And we have an outlet. And like I said, I just have to put a cover on it, and that outlet is ready to use. And that's it. That's today's electrical lesson. If you like what we're doing, come see us at Growing Home Acres on Facebook or on YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe. Thanks, and God bless.